My alien roommate locked the door. What I saw inside changed my life forever. I should have known something was off about Marcus the day he moved in. It was a Tuesday morning in late September when he showed up at my apartment with nothing but a single silver briefcase. No boxes, no furniture, no bags of clothes. Just that briefcase and a smile that seemed a little too wide, like he'd learned how to smile from watching YouTube tutorials. "You must be Jake," he said, extending his hand. His grip was cold and oddly firm, like shaking hands with a refrigerated mannequin. "That's me," I replied, trying not to stare at his perfectly symmetrical face. Everything about Marcus screamed uncanny valley. His skin was too smooth, his eyes too blue, his movements too calculated. But I needed a roommate to afford my San Francisco studio, and beggars can't be choosers. The first week was uneventful. Marcus kept to himself mostly, spending hours in his room with the door locked. He emerged only for meals, which he prepared with disturbing precision, measuring every ingredient to the exact gram, timing everything wit. A stopwatch. He never ate with me, always taking his food back to his room. "What do you do for work?" I asked him one morning, as he measured out exactly 250 milliliters of orange juice. "Consulting," he said without looking up. "Remote work mostly." That was all I ever got out of him. Consulting, remote work, door locked. But the weird stuff really started on day 9. I woke up at 3 a.m. to straw. GE humming sounds coming from Marcus's room. Not music. Something mechanical, pulsing with an irregular rhythm that made my teeth ache. I pressed my ear against his door and heard what sounded like whispers, but in no language I'd ever heard before, all clicks and whistles and sounds that human vocal cords shouldn't be able to produce. I knocked. The sounds stopped immediately. "Everything okay?" "In there, Marcus?" Silence. Then footsteps. The door opened just a crack, and Marcus's face appeared, his eyes somehow more reflective than usual in the darkness. "I apologize, Jake. I was listening to music. Experimental jazz. I'll use headphones. Experimental jazz." "Sure." The next morning I found strange marks on the kitchen floor, circular scorch patterns that formed geometric shapes I didn't recognize. Marcus was already up, mopping them away with industrial strength cleaner. "Dropped a pot," he explained. "Very hot. But pots don't leave perfectly circular burn marks in mathematical arrangements." I started paying closer attention. Marcus never slept, at least not when I was awake. He never showered, but somehow always smelled faintly of ozone and copper. His room had no windows, but sometimes light leaked from under his door in colors that shouldn't exist. Ultraviolet purples, infrared reds, wavelengths my eyes struggled to process. And he never, ever let me see inside his room. "House rule," he'd said on day 1. "My space is my space, your space is your space. We respect boundaries." I'd agreed because it seemed reasonable at the time. Now it seemed suspicious. On day 40, I decided to investigate. Marcus had a routine. Every day at 2 p.m., he left the apartment for exactly 45 minutes. He said he was going for a walk, but he always came back looking somehow refreshed, like he'd been recharged. That afternoon, I waited for him to leave. The moment the front door clicked shut, I was at his bedroom door with my old credit card, ready to jimmy the lock. It took 30 seconds. The door swung open, and I stepped into another world. The room shouldn't have been physically possible. My apartment was maybe 600 square feet total, but Marcus's room seemed to stretch beyond the building's walls. The space inside was vast, cathedral-like, with walls that shimmered like liquid mercury and a ceiling that showed, not the apartment above, but a sky full of unfamiliar constellations. In the center of the room floated a sphere about 3 feet in diameter, made of what looked like contained lightning. It pulsed with energy, and tendrils of electricity connected it to various devices scattered around the space. Holographic screens displayed streams of data and symbols I didn't recognize. Some showed Earth from space. Others showed landscapes that definitely weren't from any planet in our solar system. But what made me freeze in the doorway was the body. On a platform near the sphere lay what I can only describe as Marcus's real form. It was vaguely humanoid, but clearly not human. 7 feet tall with skin that shifted colors like oil on water, too many joints in the arms and legs, and a head that was mostly eyes. 4 of them arranged around a face that no nose, no mouth, just a pattern of small holes that opened and closed rhythmically. The creature's chest rose and fell slowly. It was sleeping or meditating, its massive form completely still, while somewhere out there, the Marcus I knew was walking around in some kind of puppet? Clone? I had no idea. I should have run. Every instinct screamed at me to get out, call the police, call the Millie. Terry, call someone. But I was paralyzed by a mixture of terror and fascination. That's when I noticed the photographs, dozens of them, pinned to one section of the shimmering wall. They showed people, humans in various cities around the world. Each photo had notes attached in English. Subject 247, Denver, assimilated. Subject 503, Tokyo, integration complete. Subject 891, London, monitor. Ongoing. And there, in the corner, was a photo of me. Subject 1247, San Francisco, observation phase. My hands shook as I reached for the photo. Observation phase? What the hell did that mean? You weren't supposed to see this, Jake. I spun around. Marcus stood in the doorway. Human Marcus, not the creature on the platform. But now his too perfect face made horrifying sense. He wasn't RCUs. He was piloting Marcus like a video game character. I'm not going to hurt you, he said, raising his hands. Please let me explain. Explain? My voice cracked. You're some kind of alien. You've been spying on me. There are hundreds of you, maybe thousands, infiltrating Earth, and we're not infiltrating, Marcus interrupted. We're cataloging. He walked past me into the room, and I atched as his human form seemed to flicker slightly, like a TV with bad reception. He gestured to the floating sphere. This is a cultural preservation device. My species, we call ourselves the archivists. We travel the galaxy documenting civilizations. Every intelligent species we find, we study. We learn their languages, their customs, their stories. We preserve them in the archive before they're lost to time. Preserve them. Why? Marcus looked at me with those 2 blue eyes. Because intelligence is rare, Jake. In a universe that spans billions of light years, consciousness is a statistical miracle. And it's fragile. Civilizations rise and fall. Species go extinct. We've watched thousands of worlds die, from war, from plague, from cosmic catastrophe. The archive ensures that their story survive, that they're remembered. He waved his hand, and the holographic screens shifted. I saw other species, aliens of every shape and size imaginable, some humanoid, some insectoid, some that looked like living crystal or moving shadows, each with their own cities, their own art, their own music playing in silent video clips. Some of these species have been gone for millions of years, Marku continued. But in the archive, they live forever. Their knowledge, their cultures, their individual lives, all preserved in perfect detail. And humans? I asked. Are we on the list? Marcus hesitated. Earth is complicated. Your species is young but advancing rapidly. You're approaching a critical juncture, the point where you either achieve interstellar cooperation or destroy yourselves. You're documenting everything, just in case we go extinct. Yes. The weight of it hit me like a truck. We were being cataloged like specimens in a cosmic museum, our entire civilization reduced to data points in an alien database, preserved for a future where humans might not exist. "The others," I said, pointing to the photographs. "How many of you are here? On Earth?" "About 15,000 archivists, spread across every major population center. We live among you, observe, record. We've been here for decades, and nobody's noticed?" Marcus smiled that uncanny smile. "Some have. Your conspiracy theorists, your UFO enthusiasts, they're not all wrong. But we're careful. We avoid detection, avoid interference. The prime directive of the archive is observation without contamination. We document, we don't intervene. But you're telling me, isn't that intervention?" "Yes," Marcus admitted, "which is why this is unprecedented. In 10,000 years of archive operations, no archivist has ever revealed themselves to their observation subject. It violates every protocol we have. Then why tell me?" He looked away, and for the first time, his perfect composure cracked. "Because I've been observing humans for 12 years now, Jake. 6 different assignments, 6 different cities, living with dozens of different subjects. And in all that time, I've come to a conclusion that my superiors would consider heresy." "What conclusion?" "That you're not just data points. You're not just a civilization to be cataloged and filed away. You're—" He struggled for words. "You're remarkable. Individually and collectively. Your capacity for creativity, for empathy, for change, it's unlike anything I've seen in 3,000 documented species. Most civilizations are static, predictable. But humans, you surprise me every single day." Marcus walked to the platform where his real body lay sleeping. "Living with you these past 2 weeks, Jake, I've watched you struggle ETH work, stress about bills, worry about your family. And despite all of it, you still take time to feed the stray cat in the alley. You still hold doors for strangers. You still create. I've seen your sketches, your writing. You make art not for profit or recognition, but because something inside you needs to express itself." He turned back to me. "That's not something that can be captured in data. The archive can record your entire civilization. Every book, every song, every word ever spoken. But it can't capture what it feels like to be human. The archive will remember that humans existed, but it won't remember what it meant to be one of you." I didn't know what to say. This alien had crossed the galaxy to document my species' potential extinction, and now he was having an existential crisis. "Is in my San Francisco apartment." "So what now?" I asked finally. "You've broken your rules. What happens to you?" "I'll be recalled," Marcus said, "terminated and replaced with a more obedient archivist. And you'll be memory wiped. This conversation will be erased from your mind. You'll wake up tomorrow thinking Marcus moved out unexpectedly, nothing more." "I don't want to forget, neither do I." He looked at the sphere, then back at me. "Which is why I'm giving you a choice." Marcus waved his hand again, and one of the holographic screens expanded. It showed a map of Earth with thousands of glowing points, presumably other archivists. "I can file my normal report and request memory wipe authorization. You'll forget everything and I'll be recalled, or—" He paused. "Or I can do something unprecedented. I can give you access to the archive. Access, not full access. That would be detected immediately. But a connection. A way to see what we've collected about humanity. Your history, your potential futures based on probability modeling. The observations from 15,000 archivists over decades of integration. Everything we know about who you are and who you might become." "Why would you do that?" Marcus's form flickered again. "Because if humanity is going to survive its critical juncture, you need to understand yourselves. And because—" He seemed to struggle with the words. Because I've come to believe that the archive's mission is incomplete. We preserve the past, but we don't help create futures. We document extinction, we don't prevent it. Maybe it's time. That changed. Your superiors won't like that. No, he agreed. They'll see it as contamination, intervention, the worst violation of our protocols. I'll be terminated permanently, my consciousness dissolved, my experiences purged from the archive. For an archivist, it's the equivalent of death. You'd do that? Risk everything? Marcus looked at his sleeping body, then at me. I've spent 12 years observing humanity, Jake. I've watched you celebrate and mourn, create and destroy, love and hate. And I've realized something. Consciousness isn't just about recording experiences. It's about making choices that matter. The archive has made me an observer for millennia, but you've made me want to be more. He extended his hand, that same cold mannequin grip from 2 weeks ago, but now I understood what it represented. So what's your choice, Jake? Forget this ever happened and go back to your normal life? Or take the archive connection and become something unprecedented, a human with access to alien knowledge about your own species? I stared at his hand. If I took it, everything would change. I'd know things no human was supposed to know. I'd carry the weight of 15,000 OBs. Ervers, documenting humanity's potential extinction. And Marcus, this strange alien who'd learned to care about the species he was supposed to objectively observe, would be executed for his compassion. But maybe that was the point. Maybe the fact that an immortal alien could come to care enough about humanity to risk everything meant we were worth saving, worth fighting for. I took his hand. The moment. Our skin connected. Information flooded my mind. Not words or images, but pure understanding. I saw Earth through 15,000 different perspectives simultaneously. I saw the patterns in human behavior, the probability curves of our future, the critical decisions that would determine whether we thrived or died. I saw wars that could be prevented and discoveries that could be accelerated. I saw the beauty and ugliness of humanity laid bare in raw data. And I saw our potential. If we survived the next 50 years, if we avoided nuclear war and environmental collapse, and 1,000 other ways we could destroy ourselves, we could become something magnificent. Not perfect, never perfect, but remarkable. A species that spread across the stars not as conquerors, but as gardeners cultivating. Life and consciousness, wherever we found it. We could become what the archivists were supposed to be, but had forgotten how to be. Preservers of not just data, but hope. When the connection faded, I gasped for air. Marcus steadied me as I stumbled. It's overwhelming at first, he said, but you'll learn to access it gradually. Think of it as having Wikipedia for humanity's future in your head. You have to ask the right questions. What do I do with this? I asked. I'm just one person. I can't save the world. No, Marcus agreed, but you can influence it. Small actions rippling outward. That's how probability curves shift. That's how futures change. The archive can show you where the leverage points are, the moments where individual choices matter most. He walked back to his sleep. Body. I need to submit my final report now. Within an hour, they'll send a retrieval team for me. The archive will record that I violated protocols and was terminated. But because of diplomatic agreements with local space governments, they can't memory wipe you without more evidence of contamination. As long as you're careful about how you use the information, you should be safe. What about your real body? I gestured to the creature on the platform. This? Marcus's human form smiled sadly. This is my real body, Jake. The vessel outside is just a projection, a way to interact with physical reality. When they dissolve my consciousness, both forms will cease to exist. I'll simply stop. I'm sorry, don't be. I've lived for 3,000 of your years. I've seen wonders you can imagine. And in my last days, I got to do something meaningful, something that might actually make a difference. That's more than most archivists can say. He began disconnecting the sphere from its various devices. You should go now. When the retrieval team arrives, it's better if you're not here. Will I ever see you again? No, but you'll remember me, and maybe that's enough. He paused. Here's one more thing. In the archive connection, there's a folder marked Personal Observations, Marcus Unit 7 Alpha. It's my private notes about humanity, the things I couldn't put in official reports because they were too subjective, too emotional. Read them when you're ready. They might help you understand what you're meant to do. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. As I turned to leave, Marcus called out one last time. Jake, thank you. For what? For being exactly the kind of human that made me believe your species deserves a future. I left the room and closed the door behind me. An hour later, I heard sounds, mechanical whirring, that same alien clicking language, then silence. When I finally worked up the courage to open Marcus's door again, the room was empty. Just a Norma. Bedroom with blank walls and an air mattress. No sphere, no holographic screens, no sleeping alien body. Marcus was gone. That was 6 months ago. I still live in the same apartment, though I've gotten a new roommate, a normal human one who snores and leaves dishes in the sink and doesn't secretly document our civilization's potential extinction. But I still have the archive connection, every day. I access it a little more, learning to navigate the vast repository of human data. I've started a blog where I write about social issues and scientific discoveries, always being careful to make it seem like natural human insight rather than alien intelligence. I volunteer with organizations working on climate change and conflict resolution, small actions rippling outward. And late at night, when I can't sleep, I open Marcus's Personal Observations, thousands of pages of notes about humanity, written in his precise analytical style but filled with unmistakable wonder. Subject observed spending entire paycheck to buy meal for homeless individual. Economically irrational behavior, but subject reported feeling good afterward. Note, human happiness frequently defies economic models. Subject cried during viewing of visual entertainment media, film classification, animation, children's. When questioned, explained was moved by the beauty of sacrifice. Query: how does species that understands mortality on intellectual level still find death meaningful rather than merely inevitable? Subject stayed awake for 36 hours to complete creative project. Classificat. Ion. Novel. That will likely never be published or generate income. When asked why, subject said, because the story needed to be told. Note, human drive to create appears fundamental to consciousness, possibly even more than survival instinct. Reading these observations, I understand what Marcus meant. We're not perfect. We're violent, prejudiced, self-destructive. The archive's probability curve. Ves give us only a 23% chance of surviving the next century. But we're also capable of extraordinary compassion, breathtaking creativity, and profound love. We're worth saving, and now I carry the knowledge to help save us. Not through grand gestures or revolutionary discoveries, but through small influences. The right word at the right moment, the subtle push toward better decisions. The gentle saint, earring of probability curves toward survival. Marcus gave his life to give humanity a chance.